Well, welcome to week 8 and learning module 8. And this is where we start coming full circle, or maybe I should say full triangle. So once again, I'm going to draw my favorite little triangle here about biological function. And we've looked at the biochemistry. Which we're very much concerned about proteins. And we looked at genetics, which is concerned about genes. Now, we're going to look at molecular biology. Which is going to show us how genes code proteins. So this is just the start of our conversation on molecular biology. And we're not quite to this point yet. We're very close. Where we're going to start off is, once again, back with that chromosome. We're going to look at that basic structure of the chromosome again. We're going to explain the purpose of a karyotype. We're going to talk about the structure and about the centromere in the middle and how it relates to the sister chromatids. And once again, really delving in a bit more on the structure and function of the chromosome. Then we're going to look at the cell cycle. So at the very beginning you saw it was molecular biology and reproduction. Right now we're talking about cellular reproduction. How does a cell, a normal non-sex cell, reproduce itself? And how does the cell live, if you will? That's the cell cycle. So what ends up happening is the cell goes through its normal growth life phase 90% of the time. Okay, and I know it looks like only 75, 3/4 according to this chart, but it's really about 90% of the time the cell is in its normal growth phase called interphase. Then 10% of the time it will be in mitosis, or the mitotic phase, and that's actually where we get cellular reproduction. So what's going to happen is we're going to understand about this whole cell cycle, this concept of interphase, the mitotic phase, and also where it's called cytokinesis, where we actually separate the two new daughter cells. So we're going to look at this whole cycle here, including little checkpoints along the way to make sure the cell is getting everything right when it comes to reproducing itself into genetically identical daughter cells. So once again, we're going to be able to break down each of the events within mitosis. And you should be able to understand and define each of the stages by the end of this module. Now, mitosis is for normal, what's called somatic cells, just normal cells in your body, every other cell in your body except for the sex cells. The sex cells actually undergo what's called meiosis. So when we're actually undergoing meiosis, we're actually creating what's called haploid cells. We're creating the sex cells. In other words, our sperm and our egg. So you should be able to, by the end of this module, to explain the differences between mitosis, what normal cells do for cell division in order to, once again, create a genetically identical daughter cell, and meiosis, where instead of creating 2 identical daughter cells, we're creating 4 genetically unique haploid daughter cells, which will then merge with their opposite, a sperm with an egg, okay, to create a whole new organism, sexual reproduction. So right now, mitosis is every cell but the sex cells, meiosis, creating sex cells. So with that, we also want to talk about chromosomal inheritance. So we should be able to see, this is kind of putting together a bit of the genetics that we talked about before and the molecular biology, how inheritance, once again, is now passed on, those same traits we talked about in genetics, but now we're looking at the chromosomal level. So we're going to see how parents create a genetically unique offspring. That being said, there's a lot in this chapter. Let's jump to it.